customer acquisition cost is becoming so high. There's so many people entering the app space with Claude Code and the likes, progressing the speed to be able to get to market. A lot of people are now hitting that situation where they're going, well, I need to now test out the product without spending £30,000 straight up front.
Welcome to Apptivate, the mobile marketing podcast brought to you by the app retargeting experts at Remerge. Listen to what's working in mobile marketing today from the people who are doing it now.
Hey everybody, today I'm joined by Michael Butler, founder of Insert Affiliate, a company helping apps turn affiliate and influencer marketing into a measurable acquisition channel. We're going to talk about why Michael thinks app marketers are leaving a huge opportunity on the table and how to actually make the economics and attribution work. Michael, welcome to Apptivate.
Thanks so much for having me.
Excited to talk with you today. Can you maybe just start by telling me what affiliate marketing is and what Insert Affiliate is as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The term is used differently depending on where you're from. Some people refer to it as influencer marketing or partnership marketing, but it's working with creators to help promote your brand or app.
So what exactly does Insert Affiliate do?
Yeah, so we help apps grow through those creator and affiliate partnerships. We provide infrastructure to track referrals, manage your affiliates, calculate your commissions, and lets you see how much those affiliates have earned through the app ecosystem.
And so you're the founder and you started Insert Affiliate. What problem did you see that made you say, I need to build this?
Yeah, I'm an app founder myself, and I'd built an app that was focused on students. I'd started developing it back when my friends were all at university, and by the time I finished, they'd all left. It took a little bit longer than expected. And I very quickly realized that the cost of acquisition for Apple search ads and meta ads was just not scalable in the industry that I was looking. So I thought I will go out to different student unions and ask them to promote the app for me, and quickly realized there was no way to accurately track those transactions that they're generating and to give them a cut of the transactions, and especially no trustworthy third parties that could help you track that and make sure that the person that's marketing it feels they're being fairly paid.
Yeah, I see those booths. I actually live in a college town of San Luis Obispo, so I see some booths and some people trying to do, maybe you can call it affiliate marketing or maybe like product seeding there. And I always wonder how they're tracking the success. So how do you actually track the success?
Yeah, it's really a tricky space a lot of the time. Before there was something like Insert Affiliate, you would have to pay those influencers or affiliates upfront, which puts a lot of business risk on. The way that we've built it, we use the strongest attribution method available. Where automatic is possible, we use that. And we fall down to explicit methods like user-entered shortcodes as a fallback. So you'll invite your affiliates or your influencers to your dashboard, and they'll receive a link or a code that they can share with their audience.
And so you had this app that you're building. Apple search ads and other paid media was really hard. How did you actually start this? Did you go into a college or how did it actually begin?
Yeah, so I had spent something close to 30,000 on Apple search ads by this point. So I had a lot of experience of working within Apple search ads and just not finding the right path. I'd hired experts to try and help me, refine those, and just realized that the customer acquisition cost was just far too high in this approach. But I knew a lot of students that knew other students that would then be able to use this method. I started searching online for someone that had built what we have now built with Insert Affiliate, and I found 5 years worth of people asking for this online. With no result. Nothing was built for this. So the very first version that I built, I immediately realized that there's a large demand for this and no suitable solution. So I actually moved straight away on from the app that I was developing and started building this with the idea that I was going to launch another app and use this myself. I started speaking to the people that wanted to use it and realized that they still were looking for this solution. And from that's where it's built out from there. Essentially, we've got an internal policy where we'll only build things where a real paying user is asking for it. So every feature that we've built over the last 3 years has been something that a user has been requesting.
So you said something about you tried maybe 30K of paid UA, and I think that's pretty common to start with paid UA. Why do you think that affiliate marketing has been underused in the app world so far compared to traditional paid UA?
Yeah, I think it takes a really long time to set up the correct procedure to be able to attribute correctly. It took us years of just focusing on this to be able to get to the point where you can have varying payments, given, a user could get paid 15%, but then if they make more sales, they can get paid more as well. Finding those influencers and affiliates to work with your brand. We now have a marketplace where you can meet them. But it's just been an under-focused space. And I think part of the reason it's becoming popular now is because customer acquisition cost is becoming so high. There's so many people entering the app space with Claude Code and the likes, progressing the speed to be able to get to market, that a lot of people are now hitting that situation where they're going, well, I need to now test out the product without spending £30,000 straight up front. I need to be able to iterate on these different ideas and try different things. And I think that that's raising the demand for alternative marketing routes rather than going the traditionally expensive and blocking approach of raising capital to first start marketing.
So let's take somebody who's never run an affiliate program before. What does a simple kind of first step version of this actually look like?
First step, if you were like building your own, where would you start? Or are you meaning, what if someone wanted to get started with Insert Affiliate, where would they begin if they had never touched affiliate marketing but wanted to try this with us?
Yeah, maybe the latter, like just a simple version of this, what affiliate marketing would look like.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would get set up with one of our SDKs. We've had people that have never coded before using Claude Code one-shot the integration. So it's pretty quick. And they would then try and find their first affiliate perhaps on our marketplace, where we've got hundreds of influencers that have worked with other apps. You would invite them to your dashboard, and they would receive an email which contains access to the dashboard on their side, but also a link and a short code that they can share with their audience. You would want to have a conversation with them using the on-platform messaging and find out, what sort of video they're planning to make, how they're planning to promote it. And from there, they would then share it with their audience, and you would see those transactions in real time appearing on the dashboard. So it opens up that whole user-generated content area, which is quite hard to get into if you're not someone that's good at making content yourself.
And have you seen certain types of apps, certain verticals work better running these programs, or maybe some don't work at all?
Yeah, so we've seen a surprisingly varied range of apps, all the way down from model train collections up to large fitness apps, and also in the finance areas. But I would say that there are a few different things which are common with the apps that do really, really well in this. The first is they've got a unique proposition. I think that a lot of these things are things that make apps successful anyway. They have a unique proposition. So if you're in a really big sub niche and that's what you're focused on, they tend to do really well. Apps which do really well also tend to know their customers quite well. And I think that that's the foundation of the majority of marketing. It's know who your customers are, and you'll know where they'll hang out, and also know which influencers and affiliates are going to resonate with them. So spending a little bit of extra time on focusing on there, it is very worth it in return. We also find that there are, a sort of demographic of apps which do really well: holistic health, fitness, travel related ones where you can picture seeing an influencer talk about a similar sort of category. Those ones tend to do really well.
Can you talk about optionality when it comes to attribution? I'm not sure what that means. Can you explain what that means and why it's important?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we like to give apps that are using our platform the most choice possible, and we see our platform as a highly configurable section of SaaS. So optionality can be when it comes to how are people sharing links. Are they sharing a link that just automatically takes them through? Are they sharing a link that shows a short code, one that uses the clipboard to copy that code and paste it into the app? Or are they using short codes only? So that's the first section of optionality. The second is how you're setting up your scheme and how you are paying your end users. So we have a wide variety of different apps that are using Insert Affiliate. And they all have very different influences and therefore different audiences and ways that they would want to incentivize those affiliates. Some of them will want to use things like advanced commission rules, where they say, we're going to give 20% commission, but after the first 5 sales in a given month, we're going to give a higher percentage. And that kind of resonates with the highly driven, really pushing their affiliates marketplace. But that doesn't necessarily work in other industries. And another example of where this something that might work really well in one industry, but not in another, is leaderboards. So if you're in the fitness space, and you're doing an app for PTs, for instance, it might be really powerful to use on their dashboard a leaderboard showing which influencers are earning and generating the most revenue. And to say at the end of a given month, we're going to give the top 3 a bonus. However, that might not work as well if you're in the parenting and childcare app space, where competition isn't necessarily something that you want to drive. You want to drive community and you want to drive collaboration. So that optionality is the ability for you to set up an entirely different marketplace and affiliate scheme than another user that is using our platform.
Let's go into a couple examples here of actual affiliate programs. You mentioned the app None to Run generated $5K in its first 6 months with just a handful of affiliates. What made that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are a few things that made None to Run a really standout positioning where with just a few affiliates, they were able to be really successful. I think one of the things is focusing on sort of B2B style partnerships where you're looking at the groups that might be running those specific niches within your app space. So if you were doing something in, say, the swimming space, swim clubs are a perfect example. I think the other thing is they have a very likable app. They've got a great proposition. They really know who their users are, and they're not afraid to put themselves out there. And I would say probably the third thing is that they allowed their influencers to speak in their own voice. There's nothing more jarring than when you're watching one of your favorite influencers, one of your favorite creators, and you can tell a mile off that they're reading from a script.
Like a hostage video.
It really is immediately noticeable. So we usually recommend telling influencers what not to say, potentially. If there's something you don't want them to say, you don't want them to compare you to another brand, or you don't want them to talk badly about another brand, you can tell them not to say that, but I would lean away from telling them what to post. Probably an extra fourth thing to that is being generous with the percentages. Influencers are using their traffic that they've built up, their audiences, their own style that they've built over years. So making sure that you set a commission rate which feels fair on both sides is really important.
And so that specific app, None to Run, started with a very small amount of influencers, or affiliates, I should say. On the other end, is there any app you can think of that launched with hundreds of affiliates? And is affiliates always more is better, or is quality way more important?
We have several apps now actually that are launching with really big amounts of affiliates. There's one that I think I mentioned previously when we were chatting down in Brazil that's launching with a national media campaign to bring on hundreds of affiliates, and all of those are going to be going into the marketplace as well, so are going to be discoverable. But we even this week alone, we've had conversations with many that are bringing on thousands of affiliates. It's really hard to say if quality beats quantity. So in terms of pure earnings, generally speaking, the top 10 sort of percent of affiliates generate the majority of the revenue. So you have this large spike if you find an affiliate that's a really good fit, really likes what you're building, and will post about it in a very genuine way. It doesn't need to be a large audience size. It needs to be an engaged audience, is what I would say. However, there is another metric that's really important when it comes to this. So it's something like 50% of Google searches no longer result in a click. People get answered by Google's AI, and they will then go on and search the product. And a lot of the training data for what to reference is coming from social posts, is coming from YouTube videos. So having a large affiliate scheme with thousands of creators posting has a net benefit that isn't just about the revenue that they're generating. But if your ultimate goal is to drive revenue, then I would say that less is more. Focus on quality, focus on people that really understand the product, and then build out from there. Probably also worth mentioning as well that we allow, it's referred to differently depending on which part of the world you're in, but tier 2 affiliates or daisy chain affiliates. So you can have an affiliate recruit other affiliates. Just one tier of that is enabled by default. So if you find a large affiliate that has a big following, they may also know someone else that they can recruit, and you can give them a cut for going through the effort of recruiting them for you.
And let's talk about those cuts that you're given to the affiliates. What do you think, flat fee versus revenue share? Do you usually recommend one or the other?
Yeah, so revenue share is incredibly powerful because rather than just getting one video posted once, one point in time, you can show these affiliates that are working with you the reoccurring nature of how they can keep earning. Depending on the size of creator that you're working with, it's very possible that they still have a day job, and a lot of them are looking for ways to make this move to be self-employed. And by showing that building recurring revenue, you're showing that you can be a part of that story and a part of that journey. So we always recommend using recurring where you can, but it is also important to try and activate those affiliates as early as possible. So things like bonuses when you see them make their first post is also a very powerful technique. So a combination of the two is the sweet spot, is what I'd say.
And then do you recommend the apps that are on Insert Affiliate to be using the UGC that the creators are producing and then running that as a paid strategy?
You would need to discuss that with the influencers that have created it on a case-by-case basis. By default, you wouldn't have the right to do that. However, I'm sure there are a lot of creators who would be very open to you reusing their content and making an agreement with that. If you saw a really viral piece of content, that absolutely makes sense, because again, there's a lot more benefit than just the actual initial sales you're going to be getting off this content. The more eyeballs that you can get on a content is people need to see an app several times before they actually convert. So running ads behind those makes a lot of sense.
How should marketers think about the number that they're actually paying, like as a percentage? Is it a percentage of the sales? Is it a percentage of the installs they're getting? Like, how do you think about that number? And then what is an actual good number?
Yeah, so sales is definitely the way that we recommend looking at this. It gives you a lot clearer picture of what is actually moving the needle. We usually recommend as a base rate across sweeping across different industries, about 20 to 40% is the right sort of range to be in. But it depends quite a lot on the industry that you're in. How competitive is that industry? How many other programs could they join that are in the same space? So in the fitness industry, you want to use slightly higher percentage. In a really niche industry, you could use quite a lot lower percentage. The other one would be how proven is your app. If you are a household name, then you can probably negotiate for a lower percentage. But we do always recommend starting your program with a higher percentage than you initially think. Add 5% onto whatever you were immediately planning to put, because you can always change this later. There's a global setting for it that is the default, but there's then a per affiliate basis. So affiliates that join later down the road, you don't have to maintain that same percentage you started out the gate with.
What's the biggest misconception app marketers have about launching an affiliate program?
I'd say that there's two. The first is that it's going to take a lot of time to get up off the ground and started. That used to be the case before we created what we've done, and before anyone had really touched on this space. But it's a lot shorter than it used to be nowadays, and you can easily get set up and operational out in production within a day, depending on how quickly you can get through the App Store review cycle, which can take a couple of days for them to submit and approve. But the other would be that I don't need to look at who my customers are, and I can just hand this over to an affiliate, an influencer, and they're going to work it out. You want to give them some guidance. It's the same as hiring any sort of staff member. If you bring them on and you give them no training at all, you don't show them anything about your product, you don't give them some access so that they can look into it, they're going to be a lot less effective than if you communicate with them regularly. You create some training resources that show this is what our platform is. Here's some examples of some really successful influencer campaigns that we've done, or some marketing that we've done. So training is important, but you can reuse those packets that you create. If you create an onboarding doc, it's essentially the same member of staff that you're recruiting every time. So you can share those learnings and share those lessons with them.
Amazing. Well, Michael, I've learned a lot about affiliate marketing, and I thank you for that. Is there any other things that you want to cover before we move on to our rapid fire round?
Nothing off the top of my head. I'll come back at the end if anything comes to me.
Okay, great. So I have maybe 10 or so questions, quick rapid fire questions, rapid fire answers. And we'll start with early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Window or aisle seat on a plane?
Oh, good one. Window.
Best meal you've had this year?
Oh, spaghetti carbonara. Amazing. Homemade has to be.
Oh, so great. My wife makes that. Most underrated acquisition channel besides affiliate?
App Store optimization. The number one acquisition channel. It just takes time to see the results from it. The second from our research is actually affiliate marketing.
One mega influencer or 100 micro influencers?
100 micro, 100%.
First app you check in the morning?
My Fitness Pal. I'm getting married next year, so preparing for that.
If you weren't building Insert Affiliate, what would you be doing?
I would probably be building some other app. I'm one of those people that wake up in the morning with ideas. I've got a shower notepad so I can write them on the wall as they pop into my head. So yeah, I would definitely be building something.
What's one app you'd love to have as an Insert affiliate customer?
Balance. I really like the Balance app. I was an early user that bought their lifetime subscription when they had it. It's a meditation style app, and it's brilliant.
Amazing. Well, Balance, if you're listening. Dream place to work remotely for a month?
Bora Bora, probably.
Okay, so final question. You are from Jersey.
Yes.
If somebody was spending a weekend, and it's not New Jersey in the United States, if you could explain where Jersey is, and if you had a weekend to visit, what would you do?
It is a fantastic place to visit. Jersey is a channel island just off the coast of France. We're a crown dependency. I would 100% come in summer first. It's 100% a summery place. I'd stay in the St. Brellard's Bay Hotel. It's got a beautiful beach, lovely waters. And then I would travel over to St. Juan's Bay and go surfing during that point. I'd stop off at a lot of the local food places as well. Jersey is literally a pin dot on the map. It's just over 100,000 people. And because of that, restaurants have to be incredible to survive over here because of the short footfall. So all of the old school pubs over here are just absolutely amazing for a roast dinner.
You're selling me. All right, Michael. Well, thanks for joining. Is there any final words, any last thoughts that you want to share with the audience?
No, that's all. Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed the questions. Enjoyed the rapid fire round as well. So yeah, but if anyone has any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is michael@insertaffiliate.com.
All right, Michael Butler. Thanks for joining the show, and thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on Apptivate, powered by Remerge, global leaders in helping apps drive growth and retention.